Hey, and transcription.
There we go.
There you go.
Cool. All right, I'll just do a note to know when to cut it.
Yeah.
So cut. Hello and welcome to our brand new podcast, Disabling Me. We've got co-hosts on this, so you've got myself. My name's Gavin, and you've got Natalie. Say hello, Natalie.
Hello, Natalie.
And as you may well know already, we are both people that live with disabilities, and we've got a lot to say on the topic. And over time, we hope that we'll have some fantastic guests on to join us. But for the moment, you've got Natalie and I. Natalie, do you want to kind of start our chat today?
Yeah, sure. So we kind of thought today we're going to talk about Disability Pride Month because that is exactly what it is. We're in July, which is Disability Pride. Um, yeah, I'm kind of indifferent about it. I don't know about you, Gavin, but it's I don't know. It's just some words for me. It doesn't mean anything, I don't think. But you might have a different opinion. You might be able to sway me on this.
Yeah, so first of all, the first time I came across it was probably 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was around the time where I was starting to really acknowledge myself as a person with disabilities.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I'm nearing 40, nearing it too fast, in my opinion. And I was born with my condition, so I've always had the same symptoms. I've always had the same, I mean,
Hmm.
varying levels of kind of pain and stuff because that's just life. Um, but it was really only until the last 2 or 3 years when my mobility like went off a cliff where I started actually thinking, oh, okay, no, I really do meet the kind of disability definition. And
Yeah.
a lot of that comes down to my own very internalized ableism. And I'm sure we'll chat about
I
more.
was gonna say we'll definitely cover that in a future episode.
Yeah, because we should ultimately.
Yes.
But that was then the first time that I came across it. Now, I don't know if that is because I was just not aware, and I was just not aware of what was going on in the world of disability, or if actually society as a whole has just been a bit crap at
Hmm.
um, putting it front and center.
Yeah.
I suspect it's probably the latter, if I'm honest. Like, I mean, if you think about it, the one that and it kind of goes hand in hand because it comes straight after Pride Month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
just to avoid confusion, so there is Pride Month, which is the LGBTQ plus month, where it's a celebration now, much more a celebration of being in that community, being part of that community, and being outwardly part of that community.
Yeah.
Obviously, that stemmed from a riot, and has taken a long time to convert into that, and there's still lots of challenges
Hmm.
that they've got to come up against. And then we then fall into Disability Pride Month straight after,
Yeah.
and it's,
Yeah.
I don't know what your thought is, but it feels like, and it's a terrible pun in many ways, but it feels like a Stonewall, in the literal sense of it. Like we're just suddenly having this wall that's been put up,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and it's just not talked about.
No, exactly. I feel like, um, like you say, with Pride being the month before, and n- I feel like I was going to say, like, there's a kind of big story and a meaning behind Pride Month, but I feel like there is still a story and a meaning behind Disability Pride Month, right? Because it's to do with the ADA, so
Yeah,
the American,
Disability Act.
that's it. And I think, I don't know, like, I kind of feel like there is that story there. So really, it should be something that is celebrated. But then at the same time, I'm like, does it stem back to the whole thing that a lot of people are still basically scared of disabled people? businesses and stuff, when you think about pride, businesses love it, and they love the like month of essentially the month of rainbows,
Yeah.
and they all like rebrand themselves and stuff like that. But then I worry, do brands and stuff just not want to get it wrong when it comes to disability pride?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's probably a fair call. I mean, I guess the slight the slight kind of challenge that I would come up against. Oh, what we've done there? I put us in seats.
I mean, we probably do need, we are sat down, but we always welcome a seat.
Yeah. So for those of you listening and not watching this, I thinking I was being really clever. I've just put a background on for the two of us, and now I don't know how to get it off. So that's fun.
That's it. We're just sitting down now.
It'll do. Let's stay. Um, looks like we're in an auditorium for those that aren't able to look at it. Actually, do you know what that's provoked a thought in
Hmm.
in even the two of us who are part of the disabled community have probably faux pas already, in that we kind of haven't started off by describing us in
Yes, you make a
ourselves.
good point.
So it does show that it's very easy to get it wrong, and I think we probably should now
Yeah.
uh, do exactly that. So, as I said at the start, I'm Gavin. I'm a white male. I've got sweeping kind of brownish hair, wearing glasses, which you won't be able to tell it on this video, but are really quite an awesomely cool green. And I'm wearing a black top. It's actually a CrossFit top, because I find it
Hey,
ironic that we're talking about disability and CrossFit.
was that a conscious decision?
It actually was.
Love it, love it. So yeah, I'm Nat. I'm a white female. I have glasses, which again you can't really see. They're really pale pink frame. I enjoy these glasses very much. My hair at the moment is kind of bluey, pinky, quite long hair. Which I mean, the color's going to change tomorrow anyway, so that's fine. And I'm wearing a green hoodie.
There we go. So I mean, that is a perfect example
That's
though
it. Yeah, that's it.
of where it isn't as easy as we like to think it is to be
Hmm.
fully inclusive.
Yeah.
And like you say, maybe that is why particularly large corporates, and I am a cynic with this, in that actually I think it's more about the bottom line with large corporates, and it
Hmm.
just don't see the value in doing it. Whereas I do think there is a much bigger reputational impact by supporting Pride, because it's a much bigger event
Yeah. Yeah.
ultimately.
But I find that interesting in itself, because when you look at like the disabled community, we're the biggest minority in the world.
Yeah,
And when you think about businesses, yeah, we've got money to spend. Like,
and
so
it's that purple pound thing, isn't it? Um,
exactly, exactly.
and I can never remember what the value is that was last attached to it. I want to
270, is it 274 billion? I might have made that up.
yeah, 200, oh, close. So 249 billion pounds a
There you
year,
go. Yeah.
in spending power of disabled people.
Hmm.
Um, so I always think that is just a kind of cop out, really. And it is, isn't it? I mean, any large corporate who says that they're being inclusive, and it doesn't take long to think of them that have
Hmm.
this kind of brand of, particularly the disability confident leaders. I've got a real bone to pick with that whole scheme,
Yeah.
because you've got these organisations that are setting themselves up as being the pinnacle
Hmm.
of disability thought leadership, of ensuring accessibility, of ensuring inclusivity.
Yeah.
Name one that's actually this year. Name one that's actually promoting proudly Disability Pride Month.
Can you see that tumbleweed in the distance?
Exactly. And that is the biggest irony in these
Yeah,
things. That
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
it
If
just
it's not even coming from within, like, says a lot.
and I mean I've sat in big organisations and I've sat on disability focused ERGs and that type of thing, and to kind of varying levels, you know,
Mhm.
of interaction. Because there's a kind of part of me that thinks, is this actually furthering the kind of agenda for people with disabilities or not? Still undecided on that one, but I think Disability Pride Month is a good point.
Mhm.
In that I don't think, or at least I can't remember, and I should caveat that with that my memory is a bit crap. Um, so there is that. But I don't remember there being any real talk about, oh well, actually this is a really important month and we should be doing a lot for it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I think more people focus on the International Day of People with Disabilities, which is a
yeah,
hell of a mouthful,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
rather than a whole month of it.
yeah, exactly,
And I don't know
exactly.
why.
Maybe they're just tired. They're just tired, Gavin. I'm
Yeah.
tired of it. Like, it's, but then at the same time, nothing's going to change if we don't push that agenda. Not us, obviously, like just us personally, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
And I think you're probably right, and the exhaustion is real. You know,
Yes.
I, I I was chatting to one of my friends fairly recently, and they were saying how exhausted they were, and
Hmm.
they've got a little one who's been keeping them up at night and all that sort of stuff. And my response was, "Oh, well, welcome to my day to day,"
Yeah.
because the reality is that, and I mean, I can't and wouldn't speak for the entirety of the disabled community because I don't think any of us actually can speak for the
No,
community, and I think it's wrong to say that you can.
you
Uh,
can't be representative of a whole community.
no,
Absolutely
we're,
not.
we're such a diverse community. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
just on a condition kind of premise, and then you factor in the kind of intersectionality of disabled people. Like, yeah, you just can't. It's just not possible to do it. But I think from my experiences and from speaking to other disabled people, the exhaustion element does seem to come
Mhm.
into it in different ways.
Yeah.
It's either physical exhaustion
Mhm.
from either being in pain or a lot of the time or all the time, or from just having to take drugs that are making you constantly tired because if without them you, well, worst case you might not be around, you might die.
Mhm.
um, I mean, best case is that you're taking them because it kind of helps improve your pain levels and stuff, but yeah, there's a whole tranche of people in between.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other reasons why we'd be physically tired. Sometimes it's just harder to get around because you got the challenges of. I mean, I use a wheelchair, and I know
Mhm.
you're kind of looking at it more now,
Yeah.
which is which can I just say is really cool. I love the fact that I use a wheelchair, and I love the fact that other people use wheelchairs. I love the fact
Yeah.
it makes your life better. Uh,
Exactly.
I'll get off.
Exactly.
I'll get off my soapbox for a second
No, stay
though.
on it. Firmly stay on it because it is like mobility aids are cool, man. Like so cool. Like,
and and particularly the really cool ones. I mean, I went to the one of the expos recently. It was NAIDEX. I didn't get to the
mhm.
Disability Expo down in London. It's just too far and on the wrong kind of days for me.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a brand called Zeal, I think it was,
Yeah, I
who
saw them.
like
Yeah. So
really like, dare I say it, kind of cool design for a
yeah,
mobility aid. I mean, what is
I
going on?
know. So cool. So cool. I saw them. So I'm the opposite to you. I went to the Disability Expo and not NADEX and I saw
Yeah.
them there. And yeah, super cool. Like proper slick and like, yeah, looks really cool.
Mm. I mean, I don't have much use for one because uh, I've tried them in the not the Zeal one obviously, but I've tried variants of what I think we just call walking frames.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
Zimmer frames is actually a brand rather than
I think so.
anything
Yeah.
else. Um, Sponsorships are welcome, by the way. Uh, um, and it just wasn't right for me. I couldn't offset enough weight for me, so crutches
No.
are better. But like, there's some really cool organisations out there for that. There's Cool Crutches,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
are another one.
Yeah.
But like even these companies, like I don't necessarily follow them in the same way as I'd follow like people, because I just tend not to follow organisations that much,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because it's a bit too much for me on social media. It's a bit
No,
overwhelming.
that's fair. That's fair.
Um, but I haven't really seen much, even for them, talking about
Yeah,
its Pride Month.
same, same. So yeah, I follow like those organizations that you've mentioned, but I didn't even see. Oh, there's lots of noise outside. Sorry, I didn't even see anything. Oh, I've not so far. I mean, we're what halfway through the month. I've not
Yeah,
seen anything so far from these organizations. And weirdly, I don't actually even think at the Disability Expo I saw anything around disability pride, which is strange because obviously it was what was it last week? So it's in July.
yeah.
Very odd.
And I mean, I wonder if they put it on in with the mindset of it being a Kickstarter, and maybe it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah, maybe,
To get
maybe.
the benefit
There's
of it.
also like high chance possibly missed stuff.
Yeah,
That also happens. But I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I think I think it. I think part of the problem. Well, I think there's a few parts that need to be solved in order for Disability Pride Month to be a real thing.
Hmm.
One, I think over in the UK at least, we need to get over being so British about things.
Yes, that's so true. Oh my
Um,
God, so true.
and just start being annoying,
Yeah,
being in people's faces, it's a bit
yeah.
like the Rosie Jones documentary, which I haven't watched yet, but it's
I
provoked a
don't
lot.
think it's come out yet, has it?
I don't think so. I think it's another
No.
few weeks. I think it's
Yeah.
end of the month, I
Think
think.
so, yeah, but that in itself, like,
Yeah, like, be out there like that.
yeah,
And I know there's lots of debate around
exactly,
it, but use the voice to be more in people's faces. Like,
exactly.
I mean, the great example, and I think you put me onto this actually, was Crip Camp.
Yeah,
It was
mhm.
on, it's I think still available on Netflix. And that was fairly old now. I mean, it
Yeah, it's pretty old.
probably what, 80s or 90s maybe.
I think so. Well, I think the documentary is kinda new, but all the stuff it was about was, like, pretty old.
It was around the
Like
ADA
yeah,
being
I think
launched,
it was
I think.
around yeah, around the 80s.
Um, yeah,
But that's a real prime example of people using their voice and shouting about stuff that's not right.
yeah,
And it's like when you think about like the UK and like the Disability Discrimination Act, and I don't know about you, but when I think about that, my brain instantly goes to like all the disabled people who were like chaining themselves to buses and things like that. And it's like, what are we doing to kind of, I guess, commemorate, not commemorate, but
celebrate.
acknowledge, yeah, celebrate and acknowledge that that is a thing that happened, and and celebrate that on the back of that we've had things like, say, the DDA, the Equality Act, and these things exist, although okay, they might not be perfect, but again, write that one down. That's another podcast for another day. But that they exist, and these people fought for that, for these future generations. And yeah, okay, we have Disability Pride Month, which its origins come from America, but we've got stuff to celebrate here as well, and no one really is doing anything about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing that it doesn't surprise me that corporations in particular haven't done anything this year, or at least not
Hmm.
notably. I mean, I did see a photo of McDonald's last year putting something up in a window,
I saw that, but that's all I've seen.
but that was last year. That wasn't this year.
Hmm.
And the kind of commentary around it was, well, why aren't you doing anything this year? And my
Mm.
response to that was ultimately that the likelihood was that they did it last year on a fairly small scale to test the waters to see whether they were going to get any backlash for it, and whether that backlash would turn into a good thing by getting more people in, and
Yeah.
ultimately would it attract more people
Hmm.
to the brand to buy more stuff off of them.
Yeah,
And it
exactly,
probably didn't.
exactly. No, no, exactly,
Hard
exactly.
because
And
it's McDonald's.
but it's like you say, that's the real reason why these businesses jump on these bandwagons, really, isn't it? And I feel like, also, in my head, I'm like, did they not do anything because it wasn't a Paralympic year? I
Yeah,
wonder if, like, so it's what, next year? Yeah,
next year. Yeah,
next one's next year. I wonder if that will change, or like that will, yeah, you know what I mean?
yeah, and I suppose, I mean, I haven't got the memory to think back to when the Paralympics and Olympic Games were here in the UK.
To be fair, I didn't see anything about it then either.
So I don't think there was anything. I mean,
No.
there was the obvious thing. I mean, Channel 4 did a reasonably good job. There was things
For
I liked.
anyone who is not watching this, what Gavin has just said and the face he just pulled are very opposite things.
My face does say a lot. Um, there was some things I liked about it. There was other things that I really didn't.
Hmm.
And actually, I think you see that in a lot of commentary, not just from then, but actually throughout. I think some of the advertising around superheroes and all that sort of stuff was just bollocks, as far
God.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a superhero to my son, but that's as much of a superhero as I need to be. Like,
Yeah. Oh. Ah.
gotta get that one in. Um, but I don't know. I just think that there probably needs to be more active coordination. Um,
And do you think that should stem from the disability community?
I think it depends on where. Yeah, I think it depends on where in the community you are, and kind of where you work as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've advocated for it. I didn't do as much this year because I was off work for a prolonged period on the run up to it. Um, and to be honest, I just haven't had the energy
Hmm.
since coming back in.
Yeah.
Um, I do work for a large corporate though, so I mean, I think there is something in that yeah, maybe it is our voices internally that we need to raise more, maybe that
Hmm.
sort of thing. But I do also think that, much like Pride, and I do think we can learn things from Pride,
Hmm.
that these celebrations don't just miraculously appear. There are
They
teeming.
don't.
No, it's lo and behold, there are people that organise these events, and I don't know if there is the consensus for that type
Hmm.
of thing, but or the drive maybe for it.
Hmm.
And I can almost guarantee there's not the money that's sat there for people to go and do it.
Yeah.
That's where corporate sponsorship would
Hmm.
really be the thing. I mean, if you look at Pride, certainly in Birmingham Pride for I think the last 2 or 3 years has been sponsored by HSBC.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, why
Yeah.
why wouldn't a Disability Pride Month be able to be sponsored?
Exactly. Exactly. And the same with like London as
Yeah.
well. Like London Pride is massive, and it's, pulls loads of big sponsors. I'm not really sure of any, but like there's loads, and it's like it pulls big names, and it's, yeah, it's why is Disability Pride not doing the same?
Mm.
Absolutely can.
It definitely does and I mean I shared a post on Instagram, I think it was a couple of days ago maybe, and it
Hmm.
was Toronto, so Canada for those of you unaware, um, which is that little place above the US.
Thanks for the
um,
geography lesson.
yeah, it's about as much as I give my son. Um, um, yeah, that they've got a pride event that they have, and they do a march. So they have
Hmm.
it set up. So they've got assistance there for those that need it. They've got different ways of and I'm using air quotes, kind of marching.
Hmm.
'Cause, I mean, I'm not going to physically march. I'm not going to stand up and walk it. I mean, I would kind of be tempted to if there was a load of people saying that they're praying for me and that they're praying for miracles. Um,
Again, there's another idea for a podcast episode.
um, yeah, and I should probably just say that I have done that before, because it's really quite funny. But I'm not. I'm gonna be in my wheelchair for it,
Mhm.
and there's probably parts that I wouldn't want or be able to do because the road's so crap,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the UK. Yeah, so there are challenges. There are things that make it more difficult, but I don't think that as a community, or even as a small subsection of the community,
Hmm.
um, I don't think that needs or should stop us from kind of marching to the capital to reference the Americans.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think, like, even just sort of whether it is a physical march, whether it's like an online, like, I was gonna say gathering. I think, yeah, we'll go with gathering, something online just for that kind of solidarity, and there's just nothing. And I feel like there needs to be something, even if it's just for hey, non-disabled folk, we exist. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah,
And
yeah.
I kind of feel that, I mean, obviously, as a community, we have the disability flag, which
Hmm.
I know there's a petition going around at the moment to get that on as an emoji.
Yes.
Personally, it doesn't really bother me either way. Personally,
No,
because
no.
whether I use it as an emoji or not, I don't know. Maybe I would if it was there. Um, but yeah, so there is even a flag that we can fly. I
Hmm.
don't think people outside of the community have a clue what that flag is and what it means. So
Yeah, exactly,
there's
exactly.
education. There's massive amount of education actually that needs to go on there. But
Hmm.
again, that's not undoable.
No,
Um,
no.
and I mean, if you look at at Pride as an example of an event that's just grown and grown and grown, and it's increased its popularity. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but
I think so.
I'll use it anyway.
We'll go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at that, it's even now in advertising campaigns.
Hmm.
It's the whole kind of rainbow color ends up being a month of advertising campaigns
Yeah.
for kind of corporations, and there's an argument that some of that is then losing the kind of original messaging. There's an argument that actually, well, it's increasing visibility, and there's probably
Hmm.
a debate in there. I don't think that's for us to have, because I'm not part of that community. I mean, I'm
No.
definitely an ally to it, but I'm not part of it. Um, so I think there is more education that we need to do as a community for non-disabled people to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether or not they buy into it is an entirely different thing.
No,
But
that's fair. That's fair. But I also wonder, like, not that I'm, this is going to be a real sweeping statement, and I'm not slating the whole disability community, just going to put it out there, just a precursor to what I'm about to say. I feel like some people, some parts of the community, when it comes to the, that need to educate, they just can't be bothered, you know. And I
yeah,
feel like it's one of those where I get it, don't get me wrong, I absolutely get it, but I feel like there does need to be that certain element of education to non-disabled people to get them to essentially get them to understand, right? And I think, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Am I
yeah.
being unreasonable?
Well, I think if you look at the community as a whole and think
Hmm.
about what the community is made up of, it's literally millions of people, from all sorts of walks of life, all sorts of backgrounds,
Hmm.
having a variety of different conditions that mean that it could be anything from not being able to walk very much to not being able to remember something from one minute to the next, to
Hmm.
not being able to see, to not being able to hear, to not being able to walk at all, to completely internal things that means that you can't eat certain things. Yeah, it's just such a massive array of people.
Hmm.
There are always going to be in people in that type and size and diverse kind of community. There's always going to be people that either don't have it in them
Yeah.
to kind of speak up, and that's kind of okay. In fact, it's not even kind of okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I think the thing that we need to be kind of cognizant of is having enough voices that are talking about things,
Hmm.
having the diversity of thought at the
Yeah.
very least in those voices. So what I wouldn't want to happen was that, I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I mean, I'm a almost middle-aged, probably am middle-aged white male, from a relatively good upbringing. And there's,
Hmm.
parents both worked, degrees and all that sort of stuff, very well educated, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I wouldn't want just my voice as an example, or people just like me to be the ones that are talking. We need
Yeah.
that diverse range of people.
100%.
I think we see some of that. Uh,
Hmm.
we probably don't see enough of it. I think is probably the sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there with that. Definitely. And I think, those voices that are the most vocal, yeah, we'll go with that. Like, I can probably count on like one, two hands at a stretch those particular voices because it's the same ones the whole time. So
Mm.
it's, it's one of those things that I find like those same voices are coming through and saying things, but and then everyone else is like just sort of nodding along, but actually like turning those voices into action. I feel
Yeah,
like I'm just kind of like saying my thoughts, but whether they're like coherent or not. But yeah, it's how would you turn those voices and those thoughts into action? Like, and that I think needs more people to kind of get behind them.
but I think one of the observations that I've had, um, and this could just be social media algorithms working against me to only see, because I mean that is a reality of it, that we only see what we are told that we're allowed to see
Yeah,
ultimately. Um, but the voices that I see are, if not all, certainly mostly female and white
yeah,
female.
100%. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there's a little scattering of non-white female voices out there, and again, I don't know if that is the reality, because when you look at things like the Disability Power 100 list, which I think is a good indication, actually it's
Hmm.
it's a really diverse
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
population. Whether it's diverse enough is a whole different kind of um, topic, and that's not the list itself. That's the kind of voices that kind of get on these types of lists.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but like on that, I mean, so this year there was something like 1,500 nominations this year.
Hmm.
So there are certainly people out there doing these things.
Yeah,
Whether or not it's seen is probably a different.
yeah. That's so true. So true.
And I guess that kind of brings us back to the month as a whole, in that, yeah, there are smatterings. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Unhidden. So it's a clothing
Hmm.
brand that um, it's basically an inclusive clothing brand. It's kind of making moves in the kind of fashion industry to kind of push the boundaries to make clothing more accessible as a brand
Hmm.
of its own. And if you look at that brand, both the CEO and the brand itself both have disability pride flags up.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it, not every day, not all the time, but it's
I
there.
don't think it needs to be all the time,
No, I
but
agree.
like you say, it's there. It's there, and
It,
it's that acknowledgement.
it to me, it kind of feels like it's a series of probably largely online, but maybe with some in-person events that are
Hmm.
hosted, um, ideally in different locations, so you can get different people being there face to face
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
online side of it. That are kind of the kind of key events through the month that
Hmm.
are then at the end of it, there is then some form of kind of celebratory, or even kind of almost like a march for equality is the phrase that springs to mind. I don't know if that is because I've heard that phrase before, or if I've just made it up. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but even it almost feels like that would be the kind of pinnacle of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you
That
wouldn't
would be
do
really
that in
cool.
December,
Hmm.
because that's the other day to do it, would be International Day of Persons with People with Disabilities. Such a
Yeah.
wonderful.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Yeah, I completely mess it up, and I'm relatively eloquent. Um, I like to think. Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that kind of march in the start of December when
N-
it's
No,
pretty
no.
miserable and cold.
July is the one to go for, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I
Um,
think, what you say is so true. Like having pockets of events and things that happen across the country, like, a lot of these kind of things do tend to be London centric,
yeah.
which, you know, for me who lives in London, perfect. But actually, it's recognizing that disability affects the whole country. So I think having those like pockets of different events, you know, whether it's major cities or even like smaller cities, things like that. Like there's so many things that could just happen just to kind of, even just to bring those people together. Like when I went to the Disability Expo, it was so nice just to be around other disabled people,
Yeah.
and people might not have the chance to do that. So why not use Disability Pride Month to be proud to be a disabled person and just get together?
Yeah, and I kind of feel, I mean, and I'm sure there will be people out there that are kind of screaming at us saying, "Oh, but there's loads of stuff out there," and maybe there is, but
Maybe.
I've got a pretty diverse community of people on LinkedIn who I follow or chat to and all that sort of stuff, who
Mhm.
are active in the disability community, and they've done some LinkedIn events, but again, that's not it. That's not the kind
Yeah.
of the way of getting lots of voices across.
Mhm.
And maybe part of the problem is trying to kind of advertise it to the right people and kind of get the right people involved. I mean, a relatively good example would be because you did the, was it Adapt Eon
Yes. Yeah.
uh, CrossFit, was it CrossFit affiliated?
No, it wasn't.
No, that was I think the thing that I liked about
Functional fitness.
yeah. Um, just for those of you that don't know, CrossFit is a big brand who do a specific type of um, functional fitness. So functional fitness is basically picking up loads of heavy weights and throwing them around, and then doing a little run, and then doing some pull-ups and doing some skipping and all that sort of malarkey. Um, and
You
CrossFit as a
described
brand,
it very well.
um, nailed it. Um, and yeah, CrossFit as a brand had an adaptive division in the Open, and they've got, I think, now 3 people from each category allowed at the games because they've cut back from 5 out of
Mhm.
the whole amount of people that went into it. There was a whole big thing this year around people that had been able to compete previously not being able to compete and all sorts, and it was frankly a complete and utter shit show.
Yeah.
Um, the kind of events like Adapt Aeon kind of feel like an answer to that. It's the first one,
Mhm.
but like even with that, it kind of felt like they were finding it difficult to get the word out there. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's how you felt with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I completely agree. It's again, it's kind of those same circles, isn't it? And you
Yeah,
want to like expand out from those same circles, but it's yeah, it's tricky.
yeah, and I mean, I guess part of it is that in the non-disabled world, it's very easy to find super famous people that can stick it on their social media and you get
Mhm.
like 1 million people seeing it.
Yeah.
Um, it's so not as easy, which again, kind of probably a podcast for another day. It's not as
Yeah.
easy for the representation of people with disabilities
Yeah.
to really get true, people that are actually part of the community rather than
Mhm.
acting in a role that is a disabled person.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think we've got as many of the voices that have got that massive following that you can put it
No,
out there. But it just kind of
exactly.
means that you have to do things differently.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we're disabled. We're used to that.
It is one of the greatest, and I even talk about this in like job interviews. It is one of the greatest attributes that I think people with disabilities have, um, is the adaptability. That
Yes.
it's not because we want to, it's
No.
because we have to.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good to like bring that to job interviews though. That's Smart idea. I'm going to take that one.
I mean, I think you've got to use everything you can when you're
Hmm.
when you're already finding it difficult just to get in the door because you've ticked a
Yeah.
box saying that you're disabled, which is not how it should be, but that is the reality.
Hmm.
You've then got to use everything that you've got to kind of
That's very true.
get
Very true.
yourself there. So that's I will always throw it out there.
Hmm.
That's I would much rather society improving to the point that I don't need to adapt all the bloody time,
That'd be
or
nice.
at least not as much as, or
Yeah.
only as much as a non-disabled person, because everybody has to adapt to things. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, if you're super tall, you've got to duck into certain doorways. Yeah, so there's an element of adaptation for everybody. It's just
Yeah.
the kind of
Exactly.
the lengths that we have to go uh, just to go to the bloody toilet
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, which does remind me of a picture I took a while back at an allegedly disabled toilet, which was in the kind of main stalls, and it was great. Yeah,
Hmm.
inside it was larger, probably not large enough already, but it was workable. One slight problem was that you couldn't get a wheelchair through the door because the door was too narrow. So yeah, I am
Wow.
proud to be disabled.
Happy Disability Pride Month. Oh
um,
gosh.
but what do you feel proud to be disabled?
Yes, actually. Um, I feel like I feel like it should be a yes,
Mm,
but no, I actually do. You know, when I think about if I wasn't disabled, literally every aspect of my life would be completely different. I
yeah,
probably wouldn't have the job that I have because it wouldn't be something that interested me. Um, wouldn't even think about it. Um, I wouldn't do the hobbies that I do, which are ironically both sport based, which I feel like for a disabled person is still quite feels it, it kind of feels groundbreaking in a way that my hobbies are all sport as a disabled person, which really it shouldn't. But there we are. Again, write that down. That's another podcast for another day. Um, um, what else? I mean, like just everything. My friendship group is probably like 98% disabled people, which again, if I wasn't disabled myself and in these communities, I wouldn't have met these disabled people and be friends with these people. And I'm not friends with these people because they're disabled. Do you know what I mean? Like it kind of the way I was just explaining that kind of sounds like I'm like you're disabled, you're my friend now. But it's really not like that. But you know, it's just
it's
when you're in
commonalities,
the
isn't it?
same exactly you're I was going to say running wobbling in the same circles like you know it just happens you all get together and like even you know I go to festivals with disabled people and things like that like my whole life would be very different and that's because I'm disabled everything in my life is because I'm disabled and I'm proud of that because I lead a fucking good life do you know what I mean like yeah how about you
Yeah, I would say now I am,
hmm
but it's taken me a long time to get there.
yeah
I mean, if I think, I mean, if I think about my friends group is predominantly non-disabled. In fact,
hmm
in my kind of core friends group, I'm the only one that's got any form of disability.
yeah
Um, yeah, that's says a lot about how how I've been brought up. It says a lot about the type of condition that I have. So whilst it was congenital, it wasn't. It limited me, but not so much that I wouldn't be able to at least try and run alongside other people. But if I
Mhm.
was running alongside, I mean, a good example is that my older brother who was significantly shorter than me. So in theory, I should have been quicker than him.
Yeah.
Was about twice as fast as me, and could jump probably 5 times as high as me. Whereas I just don't have that. I don't have that facility to do that.
Mhm.
But like I said at the start, I don't think I really started to affiliate that with being disabled until the last couple of years. And for those of you that kind of follow me on social media, you might have even seen a kind of change in probably the last year where I'm actually talking a lot more about being disabled.
Mhm.
And even
Yeah.
now you'll see that I've changed my handle from I am Gavin Clark to chronically painful,
Yeah.
because actually that's more reflective of my experiences.
Mhm.
Uh, and that I don't think that's necessarily bad, um, that I've lived my life in that way. It's definitely hindered me,
Mhm.
because it's made me look at things like a sports day when I was a kid. Like, yeah, I was in theory, if you looked at me, particularly when I was a kid, when I was actually quite fit, and I was, as kids are,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, but even when I was kind of growing up, like I was either a big stonking kind of muscular person who was able to lift big heavy things or whatever, um, or I just looked lean and was able to kind of should have been able to outlast everybody sort of thing. But that wasn't me, and I always then found that was then limiting on my beliefs.
Yeah.
In that,
Yeah.
well, because I'm not winning those races, because I'm sometimes not able to go and join in with friends because actually it's just too bloody sore,
Mhm.
um, which for me was normal. I didn't even associate that with oh, this is because of my condition.
Yeah.
And I think that is not a bad way to be brought up, in the sense my parents wanted me to be the best I could be.
Mhm.
Um, but equally, there's probably some limiting factors in that, in the sense of, well, had I been introduced to wheelchair basketball, which is one of my preferred sports these days, when I was younger, I'd have been bloody amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Exactly.
I would obviously
Exactly.
have been captain of the British wheelchair Paralympic team, obviously.
Oh,
Um,
naturally. Exactly.
and just like, it's not just that; it's all the other sports that I was okay at, but
Mm.
I could never run that well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and if I did, I I suffered for it. Um,
Yeah.
but I kind of hid all that, and then as soon as I started kind of going, do you know what? I'm tired. I'm really tired of hiding this away, of not talking about it, of pretending that I'm okay, that I'm not in
Mhm.
insufferable pain as I really was and still am. And
Mhm.
I just got tired and started talking about it. Lo and behold, I started feeling better.
Yeah.
I started feeling more proud about who I was,
Mhm.
and I started having more of an identity,
Yeah.
actually, and felt more like me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so a long way of saying yes, I do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But had you asked me that even a couple of years ago, I'd have probably
Mhm.
said, I'm not disabled though.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true, actually. And I think I was talking to someone, I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to someone about this and about how growing up I was exactly the same. Exactly the same. Like, you know, I when it came to things like PE, I was the cheerleader on the side. But like that wasn't because I was disabled. That was just because that's what I did,
Mm.
and I was never allowed to be involved in PE, and things were so different and similar to you. If I had been and found these adaptive sports when I was younger, like who knows where I'd have been now. And I kind of feel like I hit probably 20. When I hit 20, I was like, actually, that's where I started to find the adaptive sports, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm proud to be disabled, and but I think it's that kind of almost growing up, being a teenager, you don't identify as disabled, because even when I was a teenager, like, I probably had one disabled friend. So now it's like it's almost like I look back and it almost isn't me, if that makes sense, because my attitude and everything is so different now. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and to, I guess, to kind of bring it to its natural end of our conversation today,
Hmm.
that those two viewpoints make it all the more important that we do have a proper, full, joyous month
Yeah,
of celebration about
absolutely.
disabilities. Um,
Yeah,
and I guess,
because
go on.
yeah, I don't think our stories are unique at
Oh,
all.
no.
So yeah, absolutely more reason for it.
And I mean, I guess it's a bit of a, it almost feels like a bit of a call to arms
Hmm.
to kind of people that, if you're kind of listening, thinking, I didn't even know about Disability Pride Month. What are you on about? Or you just think, or you're enraged that there isn't that isn't that kind of buy-in from organisations and representation out there, and that kind of thought piece around what it means and why it's important,
Hmm.
then get in touch with us,
Yeah,
and let's see
do.
if we can change the future one step at a time, metaphorical
Yes.
step at a time.
Yeah, exactly. One wobble at a time.
Um, and I guess on that, so you can get me at chronically painful. We'll put it in the show notes, and that where
Hmm.
can people get you?
So my Instagram is it's that girl with CP. Yeah, like I say, we'll pop it in the notes, and yeah, give us a shout.
For sure. And at some point we might well make a kind of IG handle for the show, but one step at a time, eh?
Exactly, exactly.
Awesome, amazing chat, Nat, and
Oh,
we'll catch up next time.
all right. See you later.
See ya.